I thought that I would give a couple tips on how to speed up your drying time for maintenance baths. He's actually getting show bath today, so I want to be extra precise in getting him dried. So I'll just be showing you little clips of this because he'll be getting a little bit more of an extensive drying process, or more careful drying process. But I'll show you little clips for maintenance. So we just finished his bath. This will depend on your dog, depend on your preference, blah, blah, blah. I don't use conditioner except for top knot, neck, ears, and maybe hocks if having issues with breakage in hocks. Otherwise, I don't use conditioner because poodles' coats are supposed to be coarse, and it takes more drying time if you've got the conditioner in there. So I don't condition anywhere except for those parts. So I'll go through some basic things as well, just in case, you never know. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to squeeze out as much excess as I can from his coat. Put my hands down, drag it all out, all his legs, his feet, his underbelly, his tail. I'm just going to squeeze it all out as much as you can. Then I'm going to move on to a regular towel. You don't necessarily have to do this step, but it takes a lot of the excess water off before you're going to move on to a different type of towel. Also, because he's getting a show groom today, I want a bit of a slightly damp towel to put over him for the spots that I need to not dry while I'm not working on them. So this will work for that as well. So when I'm drying them, I'm doing more of a squeezing motion instead of doing a rubbing motion. I find that squeezing helps get the water out without also damaging or tangling up the coat more. So I'm doing a quick dry with this, moving to the drier sections on the towel as we go. We're going to move on to our absorbent towel. There are different types and brands of these and all that kind of stuff. I'm not even sure what brand mine is, but it's just a small extra absorbent towel. You can buy like those ShamWow towels, etc. This size kind of seems small, but the bigger that it is, it's harder to wring out as it gets full of water. By the way, don't mind my hair. So again, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm not going to focus too much on his head because the head is going to be the last thing that I dry on him, and so I don't want to accidentally get too dry. But I will focus on the ears because I hate drying ears. So again, I'm just going to squeeze the water out. I'm doing the exact same kind of steps as I did with the bigger towel. You can squeeze kind of a whole pot, and then I squeeze just the hair as well, and I keep going on that. And whenever your towel gets kind of full, you're going to wring it out so that you can take in more water. And when you're wringing it out, just make sure you're not wringing it so close to your dog that you're really getting him wet. So I'm going to wring it right over the drain, and then I'm going to continue to dry him in exactly that way, squeezing out any big excess like this, but then also squeezing the hair on top of that as well. So I'm going to do the whole dive with this towel before we move on to the next step. All towel dried as much as we can be. Now, if you have the time to do this, this is a fantastic time to put them in a kennel on a towel, dry towel, for 30 plus minutes. If you have other things to do, other dogs to groom, clean up your house, anything like that, It's a great time when you're doing a maintenance groom to just let them sit and drip dry as much as you can, because that's just going to save you a buttload of time. You don't necessarily want to let them run around outside too much, in case they, run in some dirt and stuff and they get a bit dirty. I do sometimes, but you just do want to be careful that you aren't letting them get too overly dirty, because their wet fur will really pick up the dirt and that kind of thing. So if you have the time to do that, that is fantastic. If you don't, we will move on to the next step. Okay, so like I said, this is a show bath for him, so I have him under a wet towel to make sure that I'm not drying stuff faster than I want to be drying stuff. So I have the parts that I'm not working on covered in a towel. Now, a force dryer is just going to be your best friend. If you don't have a force dryer, you just really need a force dryer if you want to get these guys done in any real short length of time. And the biggest thing with force drying is that you just don't want to cause little whips. The hair, I have a few drying videos up, but just as a quick going over, you just roughly want to maintain the same length as your hair. You want your dryer at least that far away. So when you're drying a dog, you always want it to just look like it's spread out from the spot that you're drying, and laying nice and flat against the hair or against the skin, and it's not doing any little twirls or anything like that, because that's going to cause more tangles, and the more tangles, you're going to cause more damage, and you're going to take longer because you have to work all those tangles out. I won't run the blow dryer while I'm filming just because you can't hear anything I'm saying, and the angle isn't great anyways, but I have other drying videos up if you need to see them. But I'm just going, pretty much what I do is I just force dry the entire dog while he's lying on his side. And then after that, I usually take my stand dryer, because I find the stand dryer a little bit easier than trying to just line brush. Having the stand dryer kind of blow the hair down just makes brushing out that much faster. But I'm going to force dry him completely dry with the force dryer. And then because he's going to be dry, when I take the stand dryer from him, I'm going to make sure I'm spraying him with some conditioning spray as I'm going, to make sure I'm not just brushing on dry hair. And that's about that. Obviously, like I said, I'm going to do things a little bit differently today because we are getting ready for a show. But if we weren't, that's what we would be doing. Okay, so he is bathed and dried everywhere except for his ears. I also, to help save myself some time, I force dry the neck. I know some people don't or are worried about twirling up the hair and everything like that. But if you do it in the right way, you can easily force dry the neck totally fine. And then again, I just follow it up with the stand dryer, just so that I find that that helps me to brush out the hair a little bit easier. The other thing that I also, I'm going to show you how I dry the ears a little bit to help dry them a little bit faster, since ears are just the worst. So his ears are dry enough so I won't do it here, but I would use a force dryer on the ears. I prefer taking the nozzle off, and that way I can just hold it very close to the ear to get it dry as much as possible. I just kind of do the inside and outside again. You always want to watch that it's blowing straight and you're not creating twists and stuff like that. But generally, if you take the nozzle off and just use that against the hair, you can usually do it pretty easily. But I will show you now how I use my stand dryer to dry the ears a little bit quicker. So when I'm drying these ears, I'll wait to put the stand dryer on until I'm done talking. You don't want to just brush them down like you'd have your stand dryer blowing kind of this way. You don't want to just brush your ears like this. That's just going to take so much longer because you have to work through. Now this top layer is dry, but now you have to do this under layer and the next layer. Like you have to go through all that hair, and yet the top layer is dry. So what I do is I'll do things like I'll flip the ear back. It's hard to see because I can't get a very good angle on this. But I'll flip the ear back and I'll brush it out all along the edge like this. So you can see the inside of the ears here. I'll do the old inside like that. What I'll do is I'll take the ear, so I'm holding the ear down, and I'm going to brush this hair. So I'm holding the tip of the ear, I bring it up, and I'm brushing all this inside hair. And that way, I'm not just trying to brush through the top layer, which quickly dries. I'm getting all these underneath layers down to the skin as I'm going. So I'm going to try and put the dryer on and try and do this so that you can hopefully somewhat see what I'm doing. Hopefully the stand drawer won't blow my camera off. So I'm brushing up. I'm brushing all this underside hair. So I'm holding the tip of the ear, and all of this I'm brushing up. You know, I'm taking the ear, I'm brushing it down again. I'm holding the tip, so I've got it just raised up forward. Again, holding the tip, lifting it up and back. And opening up to the inside. Dry. Normally I'd probably comb it out with the dryer on just because that's what I prefer. But as you can see, the ear is nice and fluffy and dry all the way through. And that's how we do that. I think those are kind of all my fast drying tips that I can think of. The only last thing that I'll probably mention is that you really want a powerful force dryer with heat, because heat does really helps you get things drier. Obviously, if you have issues with a dry coat and breaking it, you might not want to use as much heat, but for my dogs I usually use as much heat as I possibly can, except if I can, I try to lower it in the head and neck hair. But other than that, I think those are all my helpful tips on trying to dry your show dog a little bit quicker. Thanks for watching.